It is Friday again. We give thanks to God for getting us almost to the end of the week, and I look forward to seeing you in church on Sunday as we focus on the idea of community. But let's get to our readings. From Leviticus, chapter 11 through chapter 15. These all focus on cleanliness and what's unclean and what is clean, and the understanding with that. We're not going to read all of it again, just a little bit of chapters 11 and 12. I'll talk about some of the other chapters. Go through them and see what God is doing in them. Let's take first a look at chapter 11. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying to them, "Speak to the people of Israel, saying, these are the living things that you may eat among all the animals that are on the earth. Whatever parts the hoof and is cloven-footed, and chews the cud among the animals you may eat. Nevertheless, among those that chew cud or part the hoof, you shall not eat these. The camel, because it chews its cud but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you." And then he goes on to others as well. The hare, the badger, the rock badger they call it, the pig, any of those are unclean, basically leaving a cow and a sheep and a goat for the most part as those that were not unclean. Why does God do this? Well, the full reason isn't fully known, but part of it would be for protection of God's animals from disease or possible illness that they could get from those other animals, and to set them apart as different from the rest of the people. Now, this became a big issue in the early church as they were trying to understand what God's desire was for them as Christians, and many of them Jewish Christians. What were they to eat and continue to eat? As we look at with Peter in Acts chapter 10, Peter wouldn't eat the food, but God said that he had made it holy, opening the door for Christians to eat this food. Why? Because Jesus had been the one who fulfilled the law perfectly in our place. So thence it is no longer required. Let's continue with chapter 12. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel, saying, if a woman conceives and bears a male child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, and at the time of her menstruation she shall be unclean. And on the 8th day the flesh of the foreskin shall be circumcised. Then she shall continue for 33 days in the blood of her purifying. She shall not touch anything holy or come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying are completed. And when the days of her purifying are completed, whether for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring to the priest at the entrance of the tent of the meeting a lamb a year old for a burnt offering, and a pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering." It's a reminder that when Jesus was brought to the temple, it mentions in Luke that it was at a time when, after Mary had gone through the time of purification. There they offered doves to show, instead of a lamb and a pigeon, they offered 2 doves to fulfill the law in its place, showing that they were not wealthy. Rest. By the way, looking at this, it's amazing how we see this time between the Old Testament and New Testament on both of these. The rest of these chapters focus on more purity. God at work keeping his people safe, physically and spiritually. And when uncleanliness happens, whether it is the skin disease, whether it is some other type of issue, he provided a means for restoration, for being brought back into the community to show the priest that the skin disease was gone or whatever else had happened. Again, let's connect this to the New Testament, to Christ. Connect it to remind us of how he provides the means for restoration from our uncleanliness. Because of our sins, we are not clean before the Lord, but yet God provided that restoration, that means for restoration through Jesus Christ. His sacrifice restores us back to God, restores us continually back to the community of his church. I again encourage you to read all 5 chapters. Don't worry about being too in-depth, but understand and look at how God restores those who are unclean and get a better understanding of what he is doing there, foreshadowing, again, Jesus Christ and what he would do. God bless. We will see you again on Monday. Hopefully, I'll see you in church as well. God bless.